outlook for the future, and I also think that this will create a lot more jobs for the Filipinos. What's up, Philippines? It is so good to see your friendly faces again. I have missed you. I mean, it hasn't been that long, but if you haven't checked out the last few uploads from me, maybe it has. But I'm happy to see you back. So today I am reacting to a video that is more on the educational side. It is a country comparison. I know you guys always say like, Nelly, don't compare, but I think in certain topics it's really good to have an understanding what you can compare it to. And in this case we are talking about outsourcing Philippines versus India. So I personally have been outsourcing some of my work to a Filipino freelancer who has been editing videos for me and Mike. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what this video is about, and then at the end of this video I can give you my thoughts and my resume, but I'm very curious to learn more about that topic because I think it has a lot of potential, especially Philippines has a lot of potential on the world stage when it comes to outsourcing. But yeah, let's see what this lady has to say. Becca Martini, let's go.
Web developer in the US, anywhere between...
What happened? Okay.
India and the Philippines are two of the world's top outsourcing destinations. Nice. Now, India's been for a long time top of the mind country when it comes to outsourcing and delegation. However, in recent times, the Philippines are coming up pretty close and have really worked their way up the ladder. Now, before we jump in, for all things virtual assistants, scaling, delegation systems, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel as well so you can get all that juicy content when it comes up fresh. So currently in the Philippines, the BPOs, or the business process outsourcing companies, they're employing 1.2 million employees in the Philippines. That's massive. Now, the countries that are using these services the most are number 1, the US, 2, Australia, and then closely followed by the UK, number 3. Now, in this video, I want to dissect and deep dive a little bit into the differences between, why you might consider going to the Philippines versus why you might consider going to India, and what are the pros and cons of both. So stick around. I've been doing this for a little while now. I've got a team of about 60 under me, and I've certainly learned a few things along the way when it comes to remote outsourcing. So fam, let's go through and do a little bit of a comparison. The first thing I want to touch on is English, or the literacy skills. So if we're looking at the Philippines ranks 14th overall globally when it comes to their literacy skills. Now, one of the beautiful things with the Philippines is, I guess, accent friendly is what some people call it. So in terms of, or accent neutrality, so for call centers, sales reps, that type of thing, the Philippines is really popular for that type of thing. As for India, they're ranked 4th in the Asian countries and then 28th globally. Now in India, they're definitely not as strong on the accent neutrality side of things. So they have lost, according to research, quite a lot of business to the Philippines when it comes to call centers and whatnot. So we know when it comes to customer service type positions and roles, the English and literacy is really important, and overall understanding of English as well. So obviously if you're working with people that don't quite understand or comprehend or get the context of the conversation, the user on the other end can get quite frustrated. So for this reason, the Philippines has got the upper hand, I believe, in comparison to India on this one.
Okay, stopping quickly, because I think that is a very valid point. I personally have sometimes trouble understanding Indian English just because the accent is very strong, versus when I talk to Filipinos, it's very neutral. They know the pronunciation, and there are a lot of people who are very familiar with American English. So for me personally, it's so much easier to be on the phone with a Filipino versus an Indian call center agent. But yeah, it's just very good and insightful to hear it from someone else.
Now, number 2 I want to cover here is talent. Okay, what are the differences in talent when it comes to the Philippines and India? So when it comes to talent, apparently there's a bit of a shortage of IT and tech support when it comes to India. So I do believe that the Philippines population is larger as well, so they've got a slightly larger pool there. Both are on equal footings when it comes to talent, though India is renowned for being quite techy. I would say Philippines has a marginal advantage here, just given the wider or larger labor pool they have there. So number 3, let's cover the costs now. What are the differences in costs? You know, India versus Philippines, what does that look like? Let's look at some specific job roles and look at the differences in the overall salary. So if we skip over and we look at these positions for US folks, so if you were to hire someone locally, for example, in the US, if you're looking at customer service representative in the US, you'd be looking around somewhere between 30 and 40,000. So a customer service representative or a CSR in the Philippines, you're going to be looking at around 3,800 to 4,000 USD per year for this role. When you compare that to India, you're looking at around 3,000 to 3,200 per year. So there's a few $100 difference there, but keep in mind as well that, as Afa mentioned, with that accent neutrality, there are a lot of companies that are jumping ship to the Philippines as well, just for that slightly higher quality of service for that CSR position. Now let's look at web development. So web development position over in the Philippines, an average per year in USD, you're looking at around 4,800 to 5,200 USD.
That's
per year.
nothing compared to Austria.
About 3,800 to say 4,200 USD. So when we compare that to the US, if we're looking at a customer service representative locally in the US, you know, we're kind of looking between 30 and 40,000 annually. Quite a difference there when it comes to salaries, obviously different cost of living and whatnot as well. Web developer in the US, anywhere between 45 and 60 USD
Similar in Austria.
per year, okay, 60K. So while India arguably edges out to the Philippines in terms of costs annually, I would argue that the Philippines offers a better work environment for their staff as an overall. The Filipinos have a hard-working and cheerful nature, and this results in strong delivery. So number 4, let's look at infrastructure. So I know the Philippines conforms to the highest level of sustainability in terms of highest standards and environmental safety. They also have some pretty cool connectivity infrastructure as well in the Philippines, lots of backup and whatnot, because everything is online for them these days, and they are such a predominant country when it comes to remote outsourcing. So fiber internet is really easily accessible over there. India also has a pretty impressive infrastructure, highly developed internet connectivity, and all of this allows their businesses to run quite seamlessly over there. Though you will know, if you have hired remotely before, you do have to account for some downtime. There are a lot of hurricanes, earthquakes and whatnot, something that we might not always experience in our hometown or where we're from. It does happen over there, so it's just something to keep in mind that, you know, with all the backups in the world, sometimes you can still have some downtime, but it usually doesn't go for any longer than 24 hours. I'd love to know below, guys. Let me know if you've hired a virtual assistant or a virtual professional before. What's your experience been like? Has it been positive or negative? I would love to know and respond to your comments and engage there with you. So moving on, number 5, let's look at culture. So if any of you have met or had the pleasure of meeting or working with a Filipino before, you'll know that they're very hospitable and service orientated and responsive as well. And these are all super highly sought after traits that people are looking for when they're looking to hire an asset for their team. I guess in comparison to India, I feel like the Philippines has closer ties to the Western world than what India does, particularly with the Americans. Because of the history there that the Filipinos have with the Americans, it's the Western way of life is somewhat already entrenched within their lifestyles, and you can see this in the clothes that they wear, you know, the TV, the fact that English is spoken throughout their entire country. And so for this reason, I guess it's quite a big advantage that the Filipinos are able to communicate and have that dialogue with Westerners a little bit easier. So overall, while the Philippines and India are fairly well matched in terms of global outsourcing, it really comes down to what you're looking for within your business. Obviously, India has those lower costs there, but there have been several things that have been mentioned in terms of higher quality that the Filipinos can deliver there. You know, there may be higher rates over in the Philippines, but you can also consider the infrastructure, you know, being more sustainable and green as well. And of course, the biggest thing is to consider that communication there and the way in which we relate to one another as well. So I invite you guys to go check out my last video on why companies outsource and how they're making big money from it.
Oh, I should check that out.
If you're in a position where you're looking for some more clarity, you're thinking about outsourcing and delegating, I'd invite you to download my delegation cheat sheet. It's free. It's helped hundreds of entrepreneurs.
Good upselling, Rebecca.
There's also a bit of a process there as well to help you to get set up on your back end in terms of systemizing and putting processes together. So I'll leave that below. Now on my next video, I'm going to be going...
Okay, I'm going to stop here. She had some really good points, and one of the points that I also agree with is infrastructure. So when I came to the Philippines for the very first time, internet was not so developed, but throughout the years we got like 5G, and then now Starlink is coming, Elon Musk is investing, so it means there's so much more potential, and even people who live in the provinces will have proper access to internet. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why that I'm happy about. So I can literally hire anybody from the Philippines. It doesn't just have to be from the big cities, you know, where you already have established internet, but it's an good outlook for the future. And I also think that this will create a lot more jobs for the Filipinos. I can't say much about India because I have never been to India. It's something on my bucket list, but I still have some time to explore that country a little bit more. And I also have a friend who has an outsourcing company, and it's in very, very high demand. Like, he started with a very small team, and now he grew up to, I think, 300 people, and now he's looking into buying a freaking building to fit all his employees into one building because his expansion is just growing like crazy. So it's a very good sector to be in business-wise. But also, if you are a business owner from the US, from UK, Europe, and have English-speaking clients, I think it's a very good approach to just have some work outsourced to Filipinos. There are a lot of sectors that they can be very helpful with and are also very knowledgeable. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Maybe you learned something new like me. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for the next video. Also, please give me your recommendations for future videos. There's a link in the description box down below where you can leave your video, or the video that I should react to. Love it, very, you know, upbeat, fun, but also educational about, you know, culture, history, business, and whatnot. Can be very simple things. Yeah, I'm currently in a hotel, so there are other people around. And I'll see you guys next time here on What's Up Philippines? Bye bye.